I told you guys this was coming. Not only is Roger Goodell, hey, it's me, Roger G. Not only are Uncle Roger and friends de-Americanizing the National Football League while attempting to globalize the product, not only is Uncle Roger disrespecting America by having the feminine bad booger perform at the Super Bowl, where not a single lyric was performed in English. Which, to be honest with you, that was a blessing in disguise, because the vast majority of Americans had zero interest in hearing Bad Booger singing love songs to Bugs Bunny. Not only has Roger Goodell diluted the NFL product, which is one of the reasons the quality of play has drastically declined, but now, in his infinite wisdom, Uncle Roger is further diluting the NFL product while also making Uncle KC appear to have the power to predict the future, because the NFL is now planning to have games on the Wednesday night before Thanksgiving, which is one step closer to achieving Uncle Roger's real dream of having NFL games broadcast every day of the damn week. I don't understand it. I don't understand why the NFL continues to diminish its greatest asset. The NFL had a luxury, keyword, had, past tense. The NFL had a luxury that no other league possessed, scarcity. But over the last few years, Roger Goodell has turned that scarcity into something that could potentially damage the league. Uncle Roger has turned scarcity into overexposure. During the mid to late 90s, professional wrestling was insanely popular here in America. The Monday Night Wars between the WWF and WCW elevated wrestling to being the most watched programs on cable. Wrestling stars were in the mainstream. They were on the cover of TV Guide. They were appearing on daytime and late-night talk shows. The WWF went from being on the brink of bankruptcy to generating hundreds of millions of dollars every year, becoming a publicly traded company on the New York Stock Exchange. Like the NFL, the business of professional wrestling seemed to be unstoppable. But as it turns out, there was one thing that could stop their momentum. There was one thing that could stop their growth. Overexposure. When the WWF was at its peak in popularity, they had one primary show every week on Monday nights. They had 4 major events every year on pay-per-view, with secondary pay-per-view shows on other months that were offered at a discounted rate. 1998. WCW decides to add a second weekly show on Thursday night. Year or so later, the WWF responds by adding their own second weekly show. 3 years later, WCW out of business. And in the last 25 or so years, the WWF has never been able to recapture the popularity that they had back in the 90s. Grown men who snack on boogers while watching other grown men pretending to hit each other, they have never had more access to the WWE product than they do today. There are so many shows, it's hard to keep up with it. Watching simulated combat has now become a full-time job. And like the NFL, the WWE keeps exploiting their fan base financially. They keep charging more and more money to watch a product that is substandard. As a result, the WWE, they've hit this insurmountable wall. They have a dedicated niche audience, but they struggle to reach casual viewers. And it's mainly because they've overexposed their product. They offered people too much instead of leaving them wanting more. The question is, will the same thing happen to the NFL? Is the NFL reaching the point of overexposure? Make sure to like and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at KC_BTL84. Link to the second channel is in the description below. Today on the second channel, going to be talking about another league that's emulating the WWE. Tuesday night, NBA role player Bam Adebayo scored 83 points in a game. Well, Uncle KC, who in the hell is Bam Adebayo? Yeah, that's what thousands of casual NBA fans were asking Wednesday morning when they saw his name on a list with Wilt Chamberlain and Kobe Bryant. The NBA wants us to celebrate a role player who scored 83 points in a game. Problem is, none of it was real. And to make matters worse, how Bam Adebayo scored 83 points was an absolute disgrace to the NBA. So if you haven't already, click the link in the description below, subscribe to the second channel. Headline at The Athletic: NFL exploring exciting new Thanksgiving Eve game as early as this season. Clearly, Uncle Roger is not listening to Uncle KC. Clearly, he's not listening to a growing portion of the NFL fan base who are asking for less football while Roger Goodell continues to shove the league in our face. For decades, the reason the NFL was so successful, the reason the league felt so special, is because we only got 16 games a year. And we only had those games on Sunday and Monday. Now, me personally, I wouldn't care if they got rid of Monday Night Football and gave us the entire slate of NFL games on Sunday. By the time the Super Bowl ended in February, we were literally counting the days to week 1 in September. We used to be excited for training camp in July. By the time we got to August, our appetite for football was so strong, we're making time in our schedules to watch preseason games that don't even count. Today, though, at least for me, and I think a lot of people feel the same way, today, the passion for the NFL seems to be dwindling. Initially, I thought I was losing interest because my Saints have been a flaming ass fire, and I'm sure that has something to do with it, but I eventually realized that it's not me, it's them. I don't have the same excitement on Sunday morning for NFL Red Zone. Why? NFL Red Zone has been diluted because Roger Goodell is scheduling games every day of the week. Hell, if it wasn't for some obscure federal law preventing the NFL from broadcasting on Friday and Saturday during the fall, I guarantee you, we would have weekly games on those days too. If it were up to Uncle Roger, the NFL would be on TV from Thursday through Monday, and if he could find a way to make it happen, the NFL would be on TV 7 days a week. According to an NFL spokesperson who spoke with The Athletic, there is a logical reason for the expansion of the NFL schedule. Every offseason, we look for new opportunities to best serve our fans in the schedule-making process. Let me translate that for you. Every offseason, the NFL looks for new opportunities to exploit their fan base financially. For starters, most people aren't asking for an expansion of the NFL schedule. Hell, a lot of people are asking for the schedule to be contracted. If the NFL moves forward with this game on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, I guarantee you, it will be behind a paywall. It'll be on YouTube or Netflix, Amazon. I got a feeling that there will be an abundance of NFL games behind a paywall here in the next few years. It's being reported that the NFL is going to opt out of their broadcast deal with the networks early, and they're going to shop the league around to the highest bidders. The networks, they no longer have the capital to compete with streaming services. Last year, Netflix generated over $45 billion in revenue. CBS generated $29 billion, and they saw a $50 million decline in advertising revenue. The new broadcast deal it will be financially lucrative for the league, but at what cost? Right now, the NFL is potentially facing the perfect storm. Financially, the league has never been more valuable. Every year, NFL fans are asked to pay more and more money for a product that used to be free, and the quality of the product continues to decline. Quarterback play is the drizzling shits. Sam Darnold, who was a career journeyman. This dude was bouncing around the league like Shannon Sharp on Gentleman's Night at Club Shay Shay. This dude was written off as a bust. He won 14 games in Minnesota, and they still didn't want to keep him. And that dude just won the Super Bowl, which is great. It's good for Sam Darnold, but is it good for the league? A 38-year-old quarterback just won the MVP award. If I remember correctly, the average margin of victory in the NFL last season was over 10 points. Damn near half the games in the regular season were blowouts. And the reason is, most teams, or a lot of teams anyway, they don't have a serviceable quarterback. I'm not talking about an elite quarterback. I'm not even talking about a good to great quarterback. A lot of NFL teams, they don't have a serviceable quarterback. It makes for an incredibly boring product. And what is the league doing to address the problem? They're expanding the schedule while asking fans to pay more for a declining product. You know, oftentimes, the consequences of the decisions that we make today, they don't show up immediately. It could be days, weeks, months, maybe even years before you realize the consequences of your decisions. The WWF started overexposing their product almost 30 years ago, and they've never recaptured the popularity that they had back in the 90s. Now, whether or not overexposure negatively affects the NFL, that remains to be seen. But you combine it with Bad Booger at the Super Bowl, the globalization of the league, moving home games over to Europe, Brazil, de-Americanizing the league. At some point, you would think there would be consequences. But to their credit, that has not been the case so far. Sound off in the comments below. I'll see you guys later.